Hey, welcome to Live on Purpose, a space where we explore what it truly means to live with intention and a deeper purpose, connecting to what truly matters in life. I'm so glad you've joined me today, especially for this final episode in our series. We're going to dive into something that many of us seek, but sometimes struggle to put into words: our calling. Now, when we hear the word calling, we might think of a specific career or a big life-defining role. But today, I invite you to rethink the idea of a calling. A calling isn't about a title or a career path. It's about aligning with something larger than yourself, something that resonates deeply within your soul. It's about discovering your deeper purpose, that inner pull that guides you toward what feels truly meaningful. So let's explore how we can uncover that and move closer to living a life that feels whole and fulfilling. A life on purpose with all that we are. Now, I've asked you a few times throughout this series to be open to a shift in our thinking, right? Our understanding. And I'm totally doing it again. When we think of someone being called, we often picture a specific job or role, something outwardly impressive like a doctor or a lawyer, an artist, a teacher, or maybe a pastor, a minister. But what if your calling isn't something that, looks flashy or fits into a specific mold? What if a calling is about discovering and then aligning with something deeper within you, something that resonates with your core being? Take, for example, someone like Maya Angelou. She didn't see her life's work as just being a famous poet. Her calling was rooted in sharing her truth, empowering others, and using her voice to bring healing and understanding. Her purpose was bigger than a career. It was a spiritual, justice-driven mission, that strong inner pull to connect people through her words, her poems, and her stories. Then there's Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. He didn't just create a TV show that enthralled generations of children. He created a space where kids could feel safe and loved. His calling was about nurturing the inner world of young hearts. And it wasn't a job for him. It was a sacred responsibility. Again, that inner pull he felt deeply in his spirit. Such individuals remind us that our calling doesn't have to look a certain way. It can be found in the way, we choose to serve others, or create, or simply show up as our true selves. It's also not about the title. It's about the feeling that resonates in the soul when you live aligned with your deeper purpose. So, how do you begin to discover what your calling might be? How do you pay attention to that inner pull? Well, one of the first steps is tuning into what I like to call our inner voice, that quiet, intuitive pull or light tap or pretty significant shove that calls you towards certain things or to certain people or certain activities. This inner guidance is often where we find our deepest truth. It's like a whisper or a nudge, right? That leads us towards something that feels aligned with who we are at our core. Now, here's the thing. It is so easy to ignore that voice, right? Because life gets noisy. Oh my gosh, there's chatter, chatter, chatter that fills our heads and hearts. And there are just so many expectations and distractions that pull us in all kinds of different directions. But that inner voice, that deeper knowing is always there. I think usually gently guiding us. And it might sound like a small giggle of excitement when you think about something you'd love to try. It could feel like peace when you do something that resonates with your spirit. And most often for me, it comes with a sense of deep fulfillment, of belonging, of being in a pocket of rightness, if that makes any sense. Like you're exactly where you're meant to be. Now let me tell you, it's just so important to trust those movements. Yes, there may be doubts or fears that arise because the path your inner voice leads you toward isn't always the easiest or the most conventional. But here's the truth. That voice knows you in a way that no one else does. It's connected to something greater, a connection of body, mind, spirit, and it's inviting you to listen. And the beauty of it, I think the beauty of it is you don't have to have all the answers right away. You can just take small steps, following the pull in little ways. It could be trying something new, or joining a community that resonates with you, or picking up a new hobby. Every single step that you take will bring you closer to what feels meaningful. Now, here's another thought that I have found to be true. We often get caught up in the idea that our calling must look like a big career move or earning a prestigious title or award. But what if your calling is not in doing, but in being? Now, I want to say that again. Right? But what if your calling is not in doing, but in being? I know many people who feel deeply called to raise children with love and patience. Maybe their purpose is to create a home that feels safe and nurturing. That's a calling. Or perhaps there's someone who finds their calling in a creative pursuit like painting or writing or music or gardening, all that brings them peace. But it might not fit into a traditional mold of work or vocation. But that's a calling too. Sometimes a calling is about serving others. And often it doesn't come in the form of a paid job. It could be the work you do in your community, or through your friendships, or even in the way you show up for someone in need, volunteering your time or your gifts or your resources in some way. I think these are sacred forms of service, deeply spiritual, each in their own right. So the point is this: your calling isn't about being seen or achieving something for the world. It's about being true to what's right and feels right and is aligned with your soul, with the deeper parts of who you are. It's about living in harmony with the essence of your being, no matter how that looks on the outside. So, how do you begin to uncover your calling? How do you begin to pay attention to that inner pull, that voice, that nudge, that whisper or push? What steps can you take today to start aligning with your deeper purpose? Well, first, I think it's all about taking some time for reflection. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most connected to your true self, right? Think about that. What were you doing during those times? Who were you helping or serving? Who was with you when all that was happening? Those moments are sacred hints to your calling. So look for time for reflection. The second is to try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things. Growth does not happen by staying in our comfort zones. Sometimes a calling reveals itself when you step into new experiences, whether it's volunteering or traveling or engaging in a new project. Try something that opens your heart and your mind, and just see what happens. You may be surprised. Next, I think another step could be to pay attention to the signs around you, right? Pay attention to the signs around you. And now this might sound a little out there, but come on, hear me out. Life has a way of sending us signals and moments of clarity that point us in the direction of our calling. So friends, whether it is a chance conversation or a book that feels like it was written just for you, or a repeated idea that just keeps coming up, it's popping up all over the place. Well, I believe these are all messages from the Spirit of love, hope, and purpose guiding you. So for me, these are incredibly sacred moments of connection with the holy. So pay attention to signs around you. Finally, I invite you to set an intention. Set an intention. Take just one small step this week toward exploring what excites you, what resonates with your soul. Now, that could be as simple as signing up for a class or volunteering for a community organization, or carving out more time for your creative pursuits. Remember, the journey towards your calling is not always clear or immediate, and man, that's okay. Sometimes the path reveals itself slowly, just taking one step at a time. But trust the process. Trust the process even when it feels wonky. Embrace the unknown. While uncertainty can be downright uncomfortable, it's often where growth happens. And again, trust. Trust that your calling will become clearer with time and with every step you take. Well, now as we close this series, I invite you to reflect on 3 things that deeply excite you or bring you joy, right? Just 3 things. Now, they might be things you are already doing or passions that you haven't explored yet. Don't just think about them, write them down, right? Write them down. Then ask yourself, what connects these 3 things? What connects them? Could these be pieces of a larger, spirit-filled, soul-releasing purpose in your life? Then take a step. Be courageous. Let those inner voices and nudges guide you. Live on purpose. Oh man, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this conversation has opened your heart to the possibility of living in deeper alignment with your calling. Remember, your calling is unique to you, and it doesn't have to fit anyone else's mold. So, until next time, I'm wishing you patience. I'm wishing you peace. And I'm wishing you a journey full of amazing, spirit-breathed discovery as you continue to explore your deeper purpose. Take care.